Conversations across time. Conversations across time. Conversations across time. Conversations across time. Conversations across time.
Hi, I'm Mark Hoffman, proud member of the Conversations Across Time team and a retired history teacher. Tonight's show, I protect Ulysses S. Grant, President of the United States from 1869 to 1877 during the critical period of Reconstruction. I also was the 8th president of the National Rifle Association. As you will see, that becomes important. Also on the panel this evening are the show's host, attorney Vivian Crawford, and attorney Irv Madnick, who was involved in many cases that involved gun violence. During the show this evening, the panel will discuss the bastardization of the Second Amendment and how the original charter of the National Rifle Association has also been bastardized to make sure that every American thinks that it's all right to own guns. We will discuss how money, lobbying, political action committees, propaganda, and racism influence people's perception of gun ownership and the critical problem of mass shootings in the United States of America. Stay tuned for a very provocative and educational show. The situation is critical. In this country, it is easier to buy an AR-15 assault weapon than this stogie I hold on my hand. Enjoy the show.
Good evening. Welcome to the third episode in a series that we are calling The NRA and the Bastardization of the Second Amendment. When we left you last week, we left you with a statistic, and I want to put that up again. America's gun homicide rate is more than 25 times the average of other developed countries. And we asked when we left that you should give that some thought. And there's some other numbers I want to share with you. We've been talking about this. 91% of children under 15 killed by guns worldwide have lived in the United States. So let me make that clearer. Of all of the statistics citing young people under 15 being killed by guns, 91% of those children were residents of the United States.
That's incredible. That's incredible. That means let's say in 1,000 gun deaths of children under 15 worldwide, 910 would be citizens of the United States. That boggles my mind.
Yeah.
That absolutely boggles my mind that your legislature and your president can't do anything about it.
Does it boggle your mind in light of Sandy Hook?
Yes.
Because we again thought Sandy Hook was a watershed moment.
Yeah. I mean, I thought there were a lot of watershed moments, but there are none. I mean, the resistance to do good is just incredible to me. I mean, listen, I thought I lived through tumultuous times. I'm old enough, to live through the assassination. Kennedy talked about that. Kennedy, Robert Kennedy, Martin Luther King, riots, the Vietnam War. Remember we talked about that. We had long discussions about the Vietnam War and the civil strife that created. And people were at each other's throats. People were killing people on the streets. There were riots in all the major cities in this country in relation to all those things. And yet, out of that came the Voting Rights Act and LBJ and the Civil Rights Act and
war against poverty. Yes.
And even though we did have Iraq, which we generally considered to be a mistake, we still didn't have the type of evil and violence that had really in my 20s and 30s that I saw on a regular and daily basis. And yet, today, in the face of this carnage, where almost on a monthly basis there's a mass killing always buy assault rifles. I mean, we know what they are. These AK, whatever they are, 51,
By a citizen,
47.
by a citizen of the
By
United
a citizen of the United States, no terroristic immigrant who came here to kill people. By a citizen of the United States, whether he had mental issues or had other issues, racial issues or mental issues, makes no difference. There's a lot of issues. But the main ingredient, the common denominator, is the assault weapon. Why in the world can somebody walk into why does a gun store have the right to sell an assault weapon to some guy or woman that walks in there and wants to buy it? Just because they can identify themselves and prove that perhaps they hadn't been involved in any crime in the past. It is mind-boggling to me, and I think it's mind-boggling to most of the people in this country. I think I threw out 80% before. It could be more, maybe it's a little less, but most of the people.
So,
This country is built on what we call democracy, which means that people are really the determinators of our policy.
so Mr. Maddox,
And yet that's been usurped by money, by the lobbying interests that overcome the people's will for their own interests. A lot of time it's self-interest or group interest, and that's disgusting to me.
well, Mr. Maddox, well, you're really not only indicting the NRA and the bastardization of Second Amendment, you're indicting our very democratic system.
I am indicting them. And by the way, I'm not indicting Republicans
No,
or I'm indicting them both
you're indicting
because they've allowed this system to get worse and worse and worse. And the policies, look, they're going to pass, or they're going to try and pass now a tax reform bill. They couldn't repeal and replace Obamacare because the bills that they came up with to replace it were so evil and mean that 15% of the people approved of it, and they were really concerned about that. Well, they're going to come up with a tax reform bill. And I think that, again, everybody in this country says, well, tax reform, that doesn't sound like a bad idea. Taxes are so complicated. Even a regular working person has to fill out a 10-page form, to file his taxes. It sounds like a real good idea. But over the years, what's happened is, and the reason there's 10-page forms is because the interests of the corporations and people with a lot of money have bastardized the income, the IRS, so that they were allowed to take deductions that normal people couldn't take. And that's what's created this tremendous morass in the Internal Revenue System. So now they're going to try and change that. But when you see what happens, when you see, and we haven't reached that point yet, all of these special interests that have lobbying interests in Washington is going to be a perfect example of what we're talking about. We're going to come in to protect all of those things that have been in this Internal Revenue System for years, and it's not going to be an easy thing to get tax reform. And the kind of tax reform they want anyway is to benefit only the large, 90% of it is to benefit the large corporations and people that earn millions of dollars and are worth millions of dollars, like the president himself. This bill would automatically have meant the only tax return that we've seen from this president is tax return from like 2007. And he had to pay that year $31 billion in the alternative minimum tax, which is a part of the Internal Revenue Service that charges people to pay taxes, even though they were able to take all these other, even though they made millions and millions of dollars and took all these deductions from all these other various things that they've lobbied for years, still made them pay some tax. He would have saved personally $31 billion. He wants to overturn the estate tax. The estate tax represents, first of all, there's no estate tax if your estate is not worth over $5 million.
Exactly.
And a portion of 1% of the people in this country, and of course the wealthiest people in the country, pay that estate tax. So who does that benefit? Does that benefit me? Does that benefit? It doesn't benefit. I wish it did benefit me. It doesn't benefit me because I don't have that kind of money to leave. And most people, 99.9% of the people, don't have that kind. So they're coming up with another mean bill, like that bill that they had to replace Obamacare, and they're going to run into the same problem. And if the Democrats did it, it would be the same issue in the same situation.
The same issue that you're speaking about, Mr. Maddox, is the same issue that we're having with gun control.
Why we can't
How-
get gun
what-
control.
right,
Absolutely.
So,
It permeates
What-
every aspect of our society, every negative aspect of our society.
when I was president, we had the same problem. I mean, the influence of the newly established oil industry, and of course, during my administration, the railroads were all powerful. So I would say the railroads were equal in power when I was president to what you have in terms of hedge funds and NRA today.
Trusts, all the trusts in this country.
if it's been over 140 years since I've been president, how can the citizens who are watching this show and the current residents of this great nation change things?
Well, what happened was, in your time, all these tremendous trusts were created
Right.
by all the robber barons, Rockefellers, and whoever, and created all these trusts, and it eventually led to antitrust legislation that broke up those trusts to a certain extent. It also, and by the way, up until the early 1900s, there was no income tax. And they created the income tax law, and it was graduated tax, so that people who made
You're
more money
correct,
would pay more.
except for a short period of time, and that was at the end of the Civil War. We did have an income tax. You
Okay,
are correct.
but-
You
yeah.
graduated
Right.
income tax.
So, there, you say, was there any hope? Yeah, there's hope. It's happened before, and I think it can happen again. I mean, I like to look at, and we had this discussion a couple of times.
The glass.
The other panelists were always half, whether the
If
glass
drunk
was
like
half
that was
empty or half
confused.
full. And I was looking at it as half full. I have, I do, even in these tumultuous times, I do think that
But-
we can overcome them.
Well,
And again, and I'm getting back to this thing, and I know I harp on this all the time, but the most important thing, if you don't like something in this country, it's political, you vote.
you vote.
You have to
What,
vote.
what would happen, this is just a proposition, if all the concerned citizens joined the NRA, and then when they had their meetings,
Okay.
vote somewhat, well, I'm
Vote
just
for
throwing
no.
Well, I would say that, you know what,
New
I don't think it matters,
oh, okay.
because as long as the
ILA.
lobbying arm of the NRA
Yes.
is using that money to lobby the legislature. By the way, that's if you poll the NRA, I'm sure a majority of the NRA would be against the legalization of assault weapons. They would be for banning them. I really believe that. But not the lobbying committee, because they don't want to have any infringement whatsoever on what they believe to be a right that
you say that,
they get from the Second
when
Amendment.
we send, my old organization sends out the magazine, they tell the members who to vote for. Just like, when
they
your
do.
labor union,
Yeah,
Follow
but people
but
don't
they
follow.
do it around because they just say, this is what the most important thing to me.
A lot of people do, and a lot of people don't.
I mean, what did your President Obama say about, the people in rural America? That's what they want.
It's in their religion.
And that's their religion. So if that's the most important thing to them, they're going to vote whatever the organization tells them, and that's why these politicians are prisoner of the organization. You could, in rural America or even suburban America, you cannot today win an election if you are bucked by the NRA.
Well, I think even the Democrats said last time, they said, we're not going to take your guns away. That's not what we're going to do. Because that's what the Republicans said. They were going to come in and take your guns away like they did in Australia. And so we're not looking to take your guns
But
away.
they should take their guns away.
Well,
They
we
should-
know that, but they're not. It's almost an impossible thing. You can't
You gotta do it, baby step.
you have to do what's possible.
Yeah, you guys.
All we want to do is make
So-
sensible regulations on the gun policy, things that almost everybody would agree on, and that's what they said. Now, when they threw the RAS out, the 30-second bits, they're taking your guns away, and that's all those people see, and that's how they vote. But that's not what they wanted. And what's going to have to happen somewhere down the road, there's going to have to be, and it's not going to be in the near future, obviously, because the Supreme Court is sort of packed, but it can change quickly. The Supreme Court has to reverse Heller and go back to the classical, true meaning of the Second Amendment, which was in Miller back in '39, and there's plenty of precedent to do that, and hopefully that'll come someday, and there'll be a change a paradigm change in gun ownership, gun regulation, and hopefully that'll be. But in the meantime, what's going to happen are more kids, more innocent people, more people in churches, soft targets, churches, schools are going to get slaughtered. And it's on those people who refuse to vote against the banning of these type of weapons.
Now, the interesting thing, the NRA's argument is always that the way that you stop someone like that is with more guns. But a
good person can always stop a bad person.
Oh,
A good person with a gun will stop a bad. Didn't happen in Texas. Didn't happen in Vegas.
Did not, and that's what I was going to say, because the way that was set up in Vegas, this shooter strategically placed himself over a concert venue. Those people were sitting ducks for him. Same thing with yesterday with Sutherland in Sutherland Springs. This man came into the church with his weapon drawn. The people sitting in the pews, they weren't expecting, and even if they had a gun, he was still going to mow down a number of people.
Well,
Didn't he have a bulletproof vest?
Yeah,
he had armor on. He wore black and had armor. But the Vegas, this guy's crazy. I mean, he has a history of mental illness.
Yes.
The kid who shot up those kids at Sandy Hook, he had a history of mental illness. So that was part of it, and it's understandable. Still, guns were the common, the assault weapon was the common denominator. But in Vegas, there was no indication that this guy was a kookaboo. As a matter of fact, this guy was supposedly a millionaire.
Right.
Who was winning millions of dollars in the casinos. He had a legitimate
He was a
woman.
high roller.
The woman he lived with said he wasn't nuts. His brother said he wasn't crazy. Nobody knows why he did it. But he had the wherewithal to do it. That's the common denominator. You can say they're crazy, they're racist, they're terrorists, they're whatever, but the common denominator
So
of every one of those situations is an assault weapon.
So at the very minimum, Congress should pass a law that would ban assault weapons
And allow for the confiscation of assault weapons
and
people's.
The ones that don't already
a law that would require mental health checks before
Absolutely.
any type of.
Absolutely. Listen, what's happened today with the mental health laws in this country, I know when I was younger, they had these mental hospitals. They had Byberry here and whatever. And people who really had serious mental health issues, they were institutionalized. And that was deemed to be a violation of their civil rights and due process. And they closed all those places. So as a consequence, you have all these kookaboos in other cases out on the street. I mean, these homeless
with
people with mental health issues, and a lot of them are not on the street, and they're in homes and people's homes, and they do crazy things and are not being treated. But if they have had treatment, if there's any indication that there's an issue, there should be a national log so that everybody knows who it is that's had any kind of mental health treatment, and they should be barred from having a weapon.
Conversations across time. Conversations across time. Conversations across time. Conversations across time. The time, April 10th, 1975. The place is a dressing room in the Bobino Theater in Paris, France. The great Josephine Baker is preparing herself for another performance of her hit show, Josephine. As she ritualistically and meticulously prepares herself, an unseen reporter from America, who is here at the scene of her greatest career triumph, to do a lifetime retrospective on her life, speaks to her. Thank you very much for seeing me. And may I ask, how may I address you?
Pardon, monsieur. But did I hear you say, how may I address you? How kind of you to ask. What good breeding it shows. So many young people your age these days wouldn't even bother with that question. Let's see. What have I been called throughout the years? There was Tumpy, which is what my mare, my dear mother and siblings called me. There was Negro Wench, which the New York Times called me in 1936. In the 50s, I was called communist, since I refused to tolerate not being served at a second-rate shanty like the Stork Club in New York. Not after having dined in all the finest palaces and showplaces of Europe. I've been known as the Black Venus, the Creole goddess, a singer, dancer, stage and movie star, recording artist, Josephine Baker, or Miss Baker, or La Baker, or just simply, as is the title here of my show here at the Bobino Theater in Paris, just simply Josephine. And because of your good manners, you may call me that. Josephine.
Thank you, Josephine. And can you tell me, who is Josephine Baker?
Who is Josephine Baker? Mon Dieu, what a question. Mon ami, I cannot truthfully say who she is. Let's simply say that she is the supreme picture of arrogance, elegance, and opulence. But she is still that tiny, dark, homely, scared little girl from St. Louis, Missouri, desperately rummaging through people's garbage cans for scrap. Just a little scrap to eat. She is all these things and more.
And how do you feel about your comeback?
Comeback? How do I feel about my comeback? Pardon, monsieur, but that is another question I cannot answer. I cannot begin to tell you what it feels like to come back, since I have never truly been away. Waiting, perhaps, but never truly away. I am Josephine Baker, the Bronze Venus, the Creole goddess, the first woman to star internationally in her own movie. The woman who brought jazz and the Harlem Renaissance into the heart of Paris and into the hearts of Parisians in the 1920s. The first black woman to have become a world-famous entertainer. That means I have always been here, always ready to perform, ready to give my full heart, my entire soul to my beloved audience. Look at this body. Not bad for 68, eh? Perhaps not the same body the world lost its breath over in 1925, but still not too bad in 1975, is it? The breasts, they're not so much. They've never been so much. The legs, still muscular, shapely, symmetrical, stylish, and strong, with a panther's power. And the derriere, my legendary backside. It's still here in all its gluteus maximus glory, isn't it? For want of this backside, men have shot themselves dead at my feet. Although I shouldn't laugh at this, it is a tragedy. Oh, no, mon ami. This is not a coming back. This is a moving forward, a coming better, much better. I am pushed higher by a history that is undeniable. I have been the toast of the entire world. Kings would bow to me. Princes would fight for my attention. I've had lovers of all persuasions, and yes, sexes. I have loved men. I have loved women. I have loved so many and so much. Love that went far beyond the mere physical and romantic. Love for my children, for all children. Love for the world, for mankind. Love for both my countries. France, my dear adopted land. And for America, the land where I was born. Despite the fact that for the land of my birth, it was always treated me as nothing more than a negress. A nigger. America has hurt me, wounded me in more terrible ways than any lover I've ever had, male or female, ever would or could. I still love her, as I always will. Yes, I am that buck-toothed Negro wench that the New York Times called me, whose unforgivable crime was to make the world see that black wench, and if just for a moment, to marvel at her, and to love her blackness. So, jock shoes, I accuse myself, and I plead guilty. Guilty of taking a starving, struggling little black girl from the St. Louis slums and turning her into the world's most celebrated artist. Guilty of going beyond my favorite horizons. Guilty of making America uncomfortable, of disturbing America's peace. Guilty of not, most definitely not, ever knowing my place, but instead of ever making my place. I am ready for my next question to begin.